Good evening and a warm welcome to everyone who joined our session today on International Women's Day. It gives us great pleasure to have entrepreneur and experienced COO Dr. Emesha Pinto Jayawardena join us today to speak on the topic of diverse voices, united vision. With a colorful portfolio of leadership roles, including her positions as co-founder, director, and COO of Matrix IIT, and co-founder and director of Tea and Soul LLC UK, an immediate past president and current board member of Diversity Collective Lanka, where she promotes diversity and inclusivity in the tech industry, plus her expertise as an advocate and consultant in IT, entrepreneurship, and diversity and inclusion. Dr. Emesha is undoubtedly an inspiring leader to us all. For all her remarkable contributions, in 2022, Dr. Emesha earned the esteemed Global Women Achiever Award at the World Women Leadership Congress and Awards. Even in her personal life, she upholds her ambitious visions of a better self-sustaining world by following her values from embracing a vegan lifestyle to engaging in crafting handmade tea as a tea smallholder. She is an individual that anyone could look up to. We are honored to have her here with us today to share her valued insights on the topic of diversity and inclusiveness. And without further ado, a warm welcome from the IEEE WIE Student Branch Affinity Group of the University of Jaffna to you, Doctor.
Thank you so much for the enlightening introduction about me. And also, I would like to thank IEEE Women in Engineering Student Branch Affinity Group, University of Jaffna, for inviting me for this session because I'm so passionate about diversity and inclusion. Looking at the names I have in the audience, I hope all are girls. I don't know whether there are boys also in the group, right? If so, I'm so happy about it because we cannot have the inclusion without the proper gender balance because inclusion is not actually, being feminist, but having a proper gender balance in everywhere that we do things. Okay. All right. So the topic that I have today for the International, Women's Day, and before I start that, I would like to wish everyone happy International Women's Day. I hope that all the women, all the girls who are here, will take this message forward that we are not going to be feminists, but we are trying to have proper balance in gender when it comes to everything. So that's the objective that we have. So that's why if you take the IW 2024, the hashtag is inspire inclusion, right? It means that we need to have proper balance. All right. So the topic that I would like to take up today, so I have few slides, not much, right? It is actually diverse voices and united vision. So I think when I took this topic by myself, I thought it's very broad. But then I thought, no, I can put it into a bit of a summary and then deliver it, right? I think here, every one of us know now there is a lot of initiatives are happening around the world, around Sri Lanka, in order to bring more gender balance in universities, as well as schools, corporates, and also the community, right? So if you look at this, the diverse voices and united vision, right? So first thing that we have to understand, what is the diversity? So generally, when you take the people that we are working with, specifically if you take the girls here, you are in the university or you are in a school. Sometimes you might be in a mixed school. Sometimes you might be in a girls' school. But actually, I don't like the concept having gender separated schools. But when it comes to university, you have both genders. So when you say both genders, they're coming from different backgrounds, right? They're coming from different ethnicities. They're coming from different cultures. They're coming from different educational background, family background. So are we willing to embrace them? So this is one question that we have. Even if it comes to a workplace, even if it comes to a university, even if it comes to a community gathering, are we willing to embrace the differences in people? So as women, are we embracing the diversity in women? This is a question sometimes I have, right? So generally, if you take the diversity, the word is a very broad, concept that you have, but I'm trying to put it into mainly for three topics, right? Just wanted to take you through that. And then we are going to look at actually what is it, why it is important, and then how we can actually promote it. Because promoting the diversity and inclusion at the ground level, specifically if you take, schools and universities, these are really important because, we have to start every change from the ground level. Okay. So therefore, I thought that I will just discuss about three topics that are very important, right? First thing is, let's look at diversity and inclusion. Okay, now I like to make this, session more interactive. So you can message me. What do you think as inclusivity? What do you think the inclusion, the word? Can anyone tell me what do you think the word inclusivity in your own terms? Anyone? Okay, including all genders. I got one answer, including all genders. Yes, that's true. So remember, inclusivity we are talking about here is actually related to gender. But if you take this broad idea of diversity and inclusion, it is not only gender, but also the ethnicity, also the different abilities that you have, right? The culture, everything coming under this. But since it's the International Women's Day, we are more into the inclusivity of gender. So if you take, inclusivity means that you get every aspect of gender into this. So generally, if you take the inclusivity in the perspective of the gender, right? This is actually the perspective is that you are opening every possibility and the opportunities to all people despite of their gender and also the social roles. That is we known as the inclusion. Because sometimes, without knowing, we say, okay, it is better to have a female role for this. We say being a teacher is good for a girl. We might say being an engineer, it's good for a male. But if you take the inclusivity, you're not looking at their gender. You're not looking at, their family background. You're not looking at what is the religion, but you offer the job for the skills. So that is actually inclusivity. Okay. So if you take, just give me a minute. So if you take, the gender inclusivity, sometimes this is bias to unconscious things that we have. For example, what do you mean by unconscious mind? Unconscious mind is that, there are stored information we have in our brain, in mind. So you have the, subconscious mind. You have the unconscious mind that is working when you are sleeping, right? And then you have the subconscious mind where the information and the things are stored. Then you have the conscious mind that you're using in order to do the day-to-day activities. So there are three layers that you have in the mind. But sometimes for the gender inclusion, right, our subconscious mind is working. We actually call it unconscious biasness. Unconscious bias is happening, right? So if you take the unconscious bias, so these are actually deeply ingrained in your mind. Things like stereotypes, right? Stereotypes are like, you think, okay, this job is good for this one and this skill is there for this particular gender. For example, you think that the males can drive vehicles better than the girls. So you are actually having that particular perception, maybe from your family background, maybe from what you have heard, maybe from the culture. So you're not going to look at the skill of the person. You always relate it to the gender of the person. If you see a bad driver on the road, you think, that must be female. That is because the stereotypes are ingrained into your mind. But that's wrong. You have good drivers, females. So you have to always look at the skills. So unconsciously, you are biased to these information because they are deeply stored in your mind that have come from your experiences, cultural background, and the family background. So if you take the unconscious bias that you have, sometimes, these are inheriting from your human cognition, from your learning, from what you have seen on the TV. So if you look at, the women participation in the IT industry, since I'm working towards that, it's very less. It's about 34% if you take the whole IT industry, population. 2018 end, they did a research, and in that survey it says it's about 34% participation that you have. That is the latest information that you have. Let's say it would have been increased up to 35 or 40. But that's not enough. So one of the reasons, you have for the less participation here because of the stereotypes, because with the, different marketing, with the different things from 1981, it has been portrayed that the IT is for boys. We call it internet bubble, right? So therefore, they think that the girls cannot become a software engineer, in Colombo and all, it may not be. In universities, it may not be. But if you go to the rural areas, there are a lot of girls with skills, but still they are not willing to join the IT industry or, IT subject because they think, no, it is for boys. It is for the boys club, not for the girls. That is because of these unconscious biases that you have with you, that are coming from your family, coming from the culture, from what you have, seen on TV, what you have heard, what you have read on newspapers. So this is something that we have to be conscious. Because automatically we come into conclusions, decisions, thinking, okay, females cannot do this. So if you think of why there has to be good gender balance, these are the reasons. Okay. The reasons are, one is when the females are involved into the workplaces or industries or even in the community work, right? The researchers, some of the studies that have done, even in Sri Lanka, especially in Europe, they are saying that there is more creativity at the workplace. So do you know, if you take mobile applications that you have, most of the mobile apps that we have, the highest number of users are females. But most of the mobile apps are developed by males. So this is something that we have to think. But if you have proper balance in the development of these applications, there will be good empathy of the user experience. Because I will understand more how a girl is expecting the features on a mobile application sometimes than a boy. So then there will be good balance because the boy might have some perspective, girl might have another perspective, and combining them together will have a good product because the majority of the users of the software applications in the world are actually the females. So that's why there has to be proper balance in this, right? All right. So the second thing is, if we have the inclusivity of the women into the jobs, into universities, right? there is economic empowerment and there is growth in the economy, because there will be contribution by them to the household. Let's say, for example, if you take paying the tuition fees, buying the groceries and all these things will be easy if there's a contribution from the female as well. I'm not saying that they should be in the corporate, maybe being an entrepreneur or maybe doing a small medium business or maybe doing a very small scale, maybe a small boutique. So these things will help actually for the family to cope up with the expenses. So that will be a good thing for the household expenses when you take the inclusivity of the females into the workplaces, into the economy, into industries and all that. Another thing is, that they have found in the studies that having very inclusive economy in terms of gender, there will be saving lives. Saving lives in the sense, especially this happens when you have the inclusivity in education. Do you know, though we are good at the literacy, but still there are girls in the rural areas, they are not actually studying. At a very young age, they stop going to the school to look after the siblings. At a very young age, they go and start to work in fields, maybe in tea estates or maybe, in farming or something. So they start to work at a very young age. They don't even go to grade 5 or 6 or 7 sometimes. That is because there is no proper, policy, though there are regulations, but the enforcement is very less. Other thing is, when you take the rural areas, people can't reach sometimes, so therefore they don't know what's happening there if you take the policymakers. I'll give you one example that I saw recently. So we generally travel, every month to Nuwara because we have a small, tea land and also a small vegetable farm. So then, this is not really into the Nuwara town, but this is just before Nuwara, but you have to go inside few kilometers. So every time when we are in this place, so we always go for a walk, inside that village into different roads. So we saw a little girl, carrying a baby. So it was a day that, the kid's supposed to go to school, right? And school time has, I think it was past. So this girl came with a small baby to the boutique. We stopped at the boutique to get something. So then, we just had a chat with the owner of the particular shop, and then he was saying that mother has these number of children, and recently they got twins, and now this girl is looking after the twins. Okay, so we were listening to that, and then after that we left the shop, and then we were going, and we saw that girl is going to the tea fields with the mother and the baby. She was supporting the mother to look after the baby while she's, plucking the teas. So imagine this small girl at one point of time, she becomes an adult, or you can say she comes to the youth, and she doesn't know anything about life. She has not learned anything. So these are the girls who are going into pregnancy very young age, who are going into marriage very young age, and then they don't know about the safe pregnancy. They don't know about the safe sex. They don't know about how the life has to be handled, right? So automatically their life is becoming a hell. So actually Sri Lanka is having, though we are having literacy, we are having so much of child, death, we have, pregnancy death. So we can stop these things if we have at least some sort of education for girls specifically, right? Because they are the ones, who will become mothers in the future. So you can save life if they have the knowledge about pregnancy. You can save life if they have the knowledge about the nutrition. But actually, one part of Sri Lanka, if you take many parts of Sri Lanka, if you go to the rural areas, this education is not given properly. Because some of the girls, the small girls, are not going to school. So inclusivity is it's an important thing that we have to actually promote. Because the part of life that we are in, that we are encouraged to study, our parents are encouraging us to study. I still remember my mother, gave me, actually, she was a big inspiration to me, because um, she was someone who actually raised with lot of rules, because her father was in police. So what she said is, you get experience, you go out there, learn things, right? Travel, learn how to travel alone also, right? Because she said one day, if you're supposed to live alone, you should be able to do it. You should be able to understand the environment. So if she didn't do that, I won't be able to be myself today. So you can save lives if you have proper inclusivity. There is no gender for education. Education is for everyone. So that is one thing that you can do. If you empower the girl and if you take her in, right, you can save life in terms of pregnancy, in terms of nutrition and everything. Right? So even, there are a lot of girls dropping out of the universities due to the fact that they cannot cope up with certain things. But if you take her in, if you embrace her, despite of from where she's coming, she'll be able to survive in the university. So this is really important. And do you know in Sri Lanka now, if you take the women, this is actually study done in November 2023 by the Institute of Policy Studies. If you take the working age females in the country, only 7.7% is engaging formal employment. So you can see how low the numbers are. So you all are actually in the university. I think some of them may be in the school. So determine that you are going to contribute to the economy, either using the formal employment or maybe taking up some, entrepreneurial objective, right? Because it's very important, if you take a country, in a country's growth, you need the inclusivity of both genders. The gender balance has to be there. So that mind has to go in you now, thinking that you are going to contribute no matter what this economy. So if you take, I'm just taking the very few things, but there are a lot of things about, why it matters. But if you take the country, it is very important that the country has proper gender balance in the formal employment as well. So if you look at, especially since I'm looking at the IT, you have very less participation of women in IT. Though some of them are joining the IT industry, halfway they drop off from the job. And also after pregnancy and all these things, they're dropping off from the job because they think they cannot balance. They cannot balance the family and the work life, or maybe some of the cultural problems that they have when they get married. So therefore, if you take the C-level, if you take the advanced levels that you have in the IT industry, number of women participation is very, very less. Not only this, I think even in engineering, right? Even if you take construction, if you take a lot of these fields that are very important for the country's growth, right? The participation is less. So we have to see why participation is less, because we don't promote the inclusivity. Sometimes as women, we are not promoting the inclusivity. Some of you have to think, okay, go back and think. Do we embrace other women, right? Despite of their color, despite of their, ability to speak, despite of their family background, do we embrace them? Right? So it is very important that you embrace everyone and you support everyone and you create your network to have everyone in. This is not only the work of female, actually we need the support of males as well. Actually we call them allies, right? It means that they are actually supporting our vision. So you need males also into this in order to support this vision, because without them we cannot have the gender balance. So you have to ensure that they are also on board with you when you are doing certain programs like this, because we are talking about inclusivity of the gender. So you need both males and females. And also, if you go to any projects, if you have any leadership program, you need both into that. Then only you can have the inclusivity. So IT industry, if you take some of the organizations are actually highly working on the inclusivity, whereas there are so much of men who are supporting to have the gender inclusivity in the workplaces. So since we are talking about the gender, I'm talking about it, but some of the organizations are more into diversity, where they recruit people from different backgrounds with different disabilities. We are actually calling them differently able people, right? Because it's very important to have the right balance when it comes to humans. Okay, right. So if you take the inclusivity, I'm sorry, there's something wrong with my PPT, but that's okay. So if you take the gender inclusion, how do you promote it? Now, let's say if you take the university, if you take the university perspective, right? One thing is that you can have always certain programs that are developed maybe by your associations, right? Or the groups that you have to improve the leadership abilities of the women or the girls actually. Small programs you can build, because one of the factors that we have identified through the research, actually the confidence is something that is lacking in some of the girls to take up the things. Not only you, sometimes even in corporate, when we try to do some diversity and inclusion programs, sometimes there are females who are saying, no, we don't want to do this, we don't want to have a program like this. Then the males in the organization will be angry. So then we are saying this is not a feminist program. This is what we are trying to do, is we are trying to improve the leadership of females. We are trying to improve their confidence. So sometimes even there are females that they lack the confidence to speak. They lack the confidence to take up these programs. They lack the confidence maybe to start their own business, right? So one thing that you can do in the university, if you want to have the inclusivity, is to have certain programs that are promoting the leadership of girls. So actually, if you take IEEE Women in Engineering Student Branch Affinity Group, also building leadership in you. Because the leadership is rotating, and then you are learning to lead. Another thing that you can do is, we tell them actually the gender neutral pronouns. Pronouns are she, he, her, his, himself. These are actually pronouns that you have. So sometimes in certain cases, you can use gender neutral pronouns when you are addressing things. For example, they, it, them. These are actually gender neutral. So you can say, for example, let's say you can say ABC ask this from me and they think this is a good program. So you are not saying he thinks or she thinks, but you are saying they think it is a good program. So that is, you are trying to use your language gender neutral. Or else you have to ask from the person How do you like me to address you? You may have seen in some of the social media that you are using, you can actually have these pronouns. For example, if you take Instagram, you can have your pronouns, whether you like to call yourself a she or whether you want to call yourself a he, so you can mention that. So if you want to address your gender as she or her or something like that, you can mention it. If you don't want to, I think even you know that when you're creating the Google accounts and all these things, so it is asking the gender, but at the same time, it is giving you the options like rather not say or other, something like that. Because gender is not binary. Physically, it may be binary, but when it comes to the real world, if you take the concept, it is not binary. You have in between, right? So we had to respect them. So that's why I said diversity, we had to respect. So being someone who is always speaking with gender neutral terms, we can't do this 100%. But if you're conscious of what you are talking to someone else, you can always promote it. Okay, so that is another thing that when you are writing and also when you are addressing someone, being conscious about how you address the person, specifically the pronouns that you're using, right? It is another way that you can actually promote the inclusivity of gender. Okay. Then the other thing that you can do when it comes to your university or when it comes to the community, have networking as much as possible. If you want the gender inclusivity, there are mentors that you have, there are networks that you have, right? So you can work with them. There are people who are working towards inclusive working environment, inclusive community. So you can work with them. You can, have certain discussions time to time with them. So you have to be open for diversity and inclusion. Otherwise, you can't do this one, right? Then the next one is that you can always, promote diversity and the inclusion in your community by being an advocate or being a champion. I always call it walk the talk. So actually, the today's hashtag of the IWT 2024 is inspire inclusivity. So be someone that you inspire another person. It means you aspire to inspire. So for example, if I'm trying to be a diversity and inclusion champion, I should take small steps in what I'm doing to promote it. For example, if I'm advertising a vacancy for a particular post, if I'm the one who is approving it, if I'm the one who is finalizing it, I never mention the gender in that. Because there has to be a gender balance. I have to walk the talk, right? I never mention, okay, this has to be the gender. It is always gender neutral in the vacancy advertisement, right? And then if you're talking about, the job roles and, if you're talking about the drivers and all these things, I never mention, because it's a female, it's bad. Because it's a man, it is good. So I'm always neutral. I always think the skill is the one that you need to have. So recently, I was a bit offended about something from a friend. It was about, going for an internship because I myself now actually learning the tea technology. So I really want to, get an internship in a tea company, maybe to work for a month or something just to see how the things are happening. So this friend mentioned, don't go there because it's a man's job. I said, how do you define it with the gender? It's a skill that you need for the tea taster, right? He was saying, no, there are a lot of men working in the TV room, the tea room, and it's not a place for a girl to go and work and blah blah. So then I was thinking, no, it's a skill that you have to always look at. So the respect is the one that the corporate or the community should have for a female to do the jobs that are respectful. So there is no gender for being an engineer. There is no gender to become a software engineer. There is no gender to become a web designer. There is no gender for a cake designer. Even there are males who are doing very well in cake designing. So you know that. So always, try to promote it. Be an example in little things. In your university, you get freshers. When you are getting freshers, embrace them. Don't show the differences because of the background, because of their ability to speak a language, because of their family background. No, everyone is equal. If you can, embrace the humans into the lives, into the workplaces, into the community, into whatever the groups that you have, there will be proper inclusivity. So that's what I think. That's my personal thing. I always believe, if you want to have a change, you should be the change. If you want to have the inclusivity, you have to promote it. Promoting doesn't mean that you go and speak in a public forum. You go and, upload a flyer. No, you have to walk the talk, right? So if you take the small things that you can do at the university level, so one thing that I told is that you can, have small leadership programs. Since you are a group, this is very easy for you to organize the things, right? Leadership programs for the females that you have in the university. I think some of the things that you have already done, I saw on your page. So this will actually build the confidence in girls.
Hi, also, I guess the speaker is facing a internet issue. I request you all to stay back in the session and the speaker will be joining soon.
Shall we pause the recording and restart it?
Yeah, okay.
All right. So, so the technical issues are always, possible when it comes to technology, right? So never mind. So let's continue. So that's always coming under embracing diversity, right? Okay. So we were talking about how we can promote the inclusion, when it comes to the university and the schools and all that. So I hope that you heard that part. Okay. So if you take generally, let me share my slide. Okay. So if you take one thing that I said is we can promote the leadership development program, right, in the school level as well as in the university. So some of the leadership programs you all have already done, and this will build more confidence in girls. Another thing is, you have to always create a very safe and respectful environment for the girls, especially the words that we are using, how we address them, the certain nicknames that we are using, sometimes it might damage their confidence level, right? So safety and the respect is very important if you want to have the inclusion. Then connect with the peer mentorship circles to have, more inclusiveness, to learn new things, and also to embrace the diversity. There are associations. Inside the university, there are associations. So try to get the girls more and more into these associations. Then always ensure that everyone feels heard. Sometimes you have meetings, sometimes you have group discussions, sometimes you do project. So ensure that you take everyone in, despite of their gender, their background, their disabilities, their color, And sometimes, we might not take people in if they're not good at the language also. But try to get everyone in and listen to their ideas. So they should feel that they're heard. Also, as I told, use the pronouns correctly. Pronouns are, he, she, then her, himself, he, him, all these are his, all these are coming under pronouns. But sometimes, if you take now, gender is not binary. So ensure that you use sometimes gender neutral pronouns like it, they, and all that wherever necessary. So be conscious about it. Then, as I told you, revise your language, edit the language. Sometimes when it comes to certain job roles, we say, he will be good rather than saying, she also can do it. So it's not he or she. You have to always look at, the skill of the person. Sometimes if you take your associations, you have to always look at the skill of the person, the ability of the person to do it, rather than looking at the family background, the color of the person, how the person looks, and all these things. So these things are very important when you want to embrace the diversity and to create an inclusive environment. So then, in conclusion, I would like to say, if you want to break the barriers, you have to walk the talk, right? You have to support others. You have to inspire others. You have to take them in. You have to count them in. You have to, give them opportunity. Then, support the work-life balance. Even if you take the corporates, you have to help, you have to support them. Even if you take your colleagues that you have to support them in terms of assignment, in terms of cope up with exams and all these things. So then they feel that they are included. And always try to promote the leadership. You have to always rotate the leadership. So that is what's happening in your groups. The leadership is rotating. Rotating the leadership will help everyone to improve their leadership skills as females. And also make the trust. You have to create an environment where they trust each other. So always be a positive example. So try to always walk the talk. So that will actually help to have a more inclusive environment in universities, in schools, as well as in the community. So if you take, the gender diversity and inclusion, always try to, cultivate an environment or a culture where you value everyone. If you have a group, value everyone, right? Respect them and include them. And also you have to appreciate them for their unique skills and perspectives. You cannot always say that what you think is right. You have to always listen to the other person. So this is actually sometimes when you take, according to our cultural backgrounds, we don't listen to females. We don't value their ideas. We don't value their experiences, sometimes even the contributions. So if you take the cleaners that you have in our cities, mostly they are females. Without them, the city is not clean. Even if you take our corporates, most of the cleaners are females, but without them, the office is not clean. Okay. So always you have to see that what contribution that they bring to the table. That is the most important thing, despite of their gender, despite of their religion, despite of their color. So this is really, really important. So I would like to actually conclude this, with a quote. So if you take the economy, right, this is actually an idea by Michelle Obama. So if you take an economy, if you only promote half of the population to be in the corporates, so then there is a doubt whether the economic growth is possible. So you have to ensure that everyone is on board despite of the gender. Because if you take Sri Lanka, more than half of the population you have is a female. Females are, more than 50%. So if you don't get them on board, into the board level, into the operational level, into the working level, So how do you promote economic growth in a country? So it is very important that as young girls, as the university students, and I hope that our school students also here, so you have to bring it to the, discussion. You have to promote it because you are the generation going to, develop the future of the country. So if you don't embrace it now, you will not embrace it in the corporate world. So it is very important that you make the change and then you inspire the inclusivity. And that will help, for us to have a better future in our economy as well as in the community and also in the corporate to have more inclusive work environment. So thanks everyone. So I hope that you are actually taking something home, but if you have any questions, you can ask from me. I'm open for that. Yeah, there's a question. Let me take it up. Yeah, so other than establishing associations like WIE, are there other examples of different programs that a university can carry out for promoting inclusivity and making women be more confident in themselves? Yeah, I'll first take out the association that I'm working with. That is actually a not-for-profit organization. We call it Diversity and Inclusion. So Diversity Collective Lanka. So we are actually connected with International Finance Corporation and also with the ADB and some IT industries in Sri Lanka in order to promote more diversity. So now we are actually going beyond the IT industry. Because earlier we were promoting it, in the IT industry companies, supporting them for training programs, for guidance programs and all that. But right now we are actually going into more spectrum. It's not just the IT industry. We are trying to promote it in all the places, So you can connect because we have four pillars we are working. One pillar is for the corporate. Another pillar is actually working for the universities. We are actually doing some programs in the University of Colombo, right? And also in Open University. And another pillar we have for the schools, promoting, to get more girls into especially IT industry and the corporate, educating them what opportunities are there. Fourth pillar is working actually for entrepreneurship and the community. So to support women with technology, to come up with businesses, to enable them with technology for businesses and all that. So you can actually connect with that. And also you have SLASCOM, right? Sri Lanka Association of Software Companies. There are a lot of programs that you can volunteer. So I will share Diversity Collective Lanka email and everything with your president, right? Because I have the email, so you can actually join. Yeah, there's another question. Is it still true that women getting into IT law? Yes. So actually, it is not increasing as expected. My research also based on that because in after 2014 and 15, specifically, there are so much of facilities they have brought into IT industry in order to have more retaining of females. For example, some of the IT companies are having actually working from home, to balance the work life, flexible hours, feeding rooms, daycares and the nurseries. And also there are certain other facilities that they are giving, like more maternity leave and all these things. Recently, they started returning program for the females because when they go on maternity, sometimes they miss out the new technologies and all these things. So because of that, they actually implemented a returning program that is for the females who are returning after pregnancy. They can go through that program just to, polish their knowledge and the technology and the skills, and they can back at the job. But still, despite of these facilities offering, numbers are not increasing as we expected. So still it's low. So one is actually, as Varsha has mentioned here, late night work. Uh, Another thing is actually the culture and uh, confidence. So that is most of the time, what happens when they get married, when they get kids and all, they actually lack the confidence, thinking that they're not able to balance their home and the work, because you have to sometimes work late night. Sometimes with the projects, you have to, work a lot. So that is one problem. Retaining is very less. So because the retaining is less, the women going into the advancement of the C level, very less. You have actually very few females working at the senior level, the C level, the chief executive level when it comes to the IT companies. And this is, I think, even common for the engineering and all that. But in Sri Lanka, if you take the teachers and the lawyers, the female population is very high. But if you take industries like construction, if you take engineering, civil engineering, if you take IT specifically, it is actually very, very low. Not as expected. This is not actually not only Sri Lanka, but this is happening in most of the countries. If you take the IT population of female, right? Any questions you have? But we are hoping that the numbers will be more with the new generations because they are more open to technology. Any other questions you have? Okay, so since like no more questions, so you can, I will just email the details to your, the president about the Diversity Collective Lanka. So there are so much of programs going on. So if you want, you can actually join. Even university programs we conduct with regard to, diversity and inclusion and respectful workplaces and environment and all these things. So you can actually connect with them. Hope no more questions.
Yeah,
Okay.
thanks, ma'am. Yeah, I'll share the details with others as well. Now I'll
Okay.
just hand it over to our secretary.
Okay, thank you so much for inviting me for this, and I'm so sorry for the technical, glitch that we had in the middle. But I hope that every one of you got the message.
Good evening, everyone. So, on behalf of IEEE Women in Engineering Student Branch Affinity Group, we extend our deepest gratitude to you, Mr. Emesha Pinto Jayawardena, for gracing us with your knowledge, passion, and inspiring words on this special occasion of International Women's Day. Your insightful presentation hasn't only enlightened our minds, but also ignited our hearts with renewed determination and purpose. Your dedication to promoting this inclusivity and empowerment and gender equality is a guiding light for us all. Your commitment to uplifting women and amplifying their voices is just a testament to your exemplary leadership and vision. We are profoundly grateful for the invaluable insights and inspiration you have shared with us today. So thank you once again for your contributions, which have left an indelible mark on our hearts and minds. And for all the attendees, your presence today is a testament to your commitment to advancing the cause of gender equality and empowering women everywhere. And thank you for being in this important conversation. So you have demonstrated your dedication for creating a more inclusive and equitable world for all. Thank you all. And we have a little request. Could everyone please switch on your cameras for a group photo? And it would be wonderful to capture this moment together. Thank you.
And guys, if you all, I mean, like everyone, if you all could hold your hands in this like hardship to show that inspiring inclusivity would be great. And just a moment, I'm being unable to stop sharing. Um, I couldn't stop sharing that. I'll just, okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thanks all.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Bye.
Bye.